To say you gotta know somebody, or know somebody to get somewhere these days. To say you know that's alright, yeah that's alright, cause you know that's alright with me. Yeah, you know that's alright, yeah that's alright, cause you know that's alright.
The reason is, that's where the bell curve is. That's where all of the houses are moving. That's the ones that are selling, that's the ones that are getting bought, that's the one where the opportunity is. If you go into the parking lot at the mall, especially during Christmas time, which is coming up real short here, but if you go into the parking lot of a mall, it looks like the whole mall is full, right? But what's happening? It's never full. There's people that are leaving, and then somebody else pulls into that spot, and then somebody else moves out, and somebody else moves into that spot. So it's always turning, and that's what these neighborhoods do too. They're stable neighborhoods, but they're always turning. These are first-time home buyer type homes. These aren't McMansions. If you want a McMansion to live in, that's great, but that's not what we're looking for here. The other thing we do when we do these deals is we do a lot of, I do a lot of direct response marketing, where we're sending out letters to people that don't know that their house is for sale yet and telling them that their house is for sale, or at least telling them we'll buy it. And we screen them for two things. We screen them for motivation. I would say motivation, motivated sellers. You guys have heard that before, motivated sellers? Not desperate sellers. There's a difference. For 7 years, I marketed to foreclosures and made a lot of money doing it. However, recently, foreclosures have been nothing but problems. You have people that are desperate, that are down, and they fall off of the horse, and you can get a good deal there, and it really does save them when you get those deals. But what happens when they get back on that horse? They point the finger and say, oh, you were taken advantage of, whatever. The problem is they're the most headaches. The people that have, they're desperate are the most headaches. So I don't deal with desperation, I deal with motivation. Motivation is the house that I'm living in no longer meets my needs. Whether it's they had another child, maybe it was a situation where they're getting older and they want a single story and the two stories not working anymore. You understand those kind of life changes that happen that, and not screwy houses either. We're talking 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 4-bedroom. I don't want 2 bedrooms. I don't want a 3-bedroom where you've got to walk through the first bedroom to get to the second bedroom and through the first and the second to get to the third. No. Simple houses, great floor plans, good houses. Free and clear houses. And high equity houses, we also screen for that. They don't have to be motivated. The free and clear houses that, as soon as I find out it's free and clear, and they say, I'm interested in selling my house, do you have a mortgage? No. Can I come over right now? There's equity in those deals. How many people in here do short sales? Why? That's such a pain in the butt. I've done them, believe me, I've been having success. But you gotta do all this work, and maybe it'll pay off. Am I right? Yeah, that's how it works. Okay. So that's not low-hanging fruit. You gotta spend your time on real deals, real estate assembly line deals. That's a real deal, okay? Okay, this is, I'll tell you about my first real deal. This was a house I was gonna wholesale. And why do people wholesale houses? No, because they don't have any money, that's why. They don't have any money. That's why they wholesale a house. So if somebody wants to wholesale a house, you get a house under contract. In this case, I got the house under contract for $25,000. I had a buddy I was going to flip the contract to for $65,000. It's a pretty good wholesale deal, 40 grand. The house was appraised at $92,000 when I bought it. That's a really good deal. Now that's not a scalable business model. You're not going to find stuff that's 30-some cents on the dollar every time. But this is my first keeper property. This is my first rental property. And the day before the wholesale transaction, this was on a handshake. So lesson 1, document your deals. I'll help you with that. I was buying the house on a handshake. The guy was going to buy it for 65. It's worth 92. That's a good deal, right? 65 is worth 92. Who cares what I got it for? It doesn't matter if I inherited it. Right. As long as he's willing to pay 65, right? The day before closing, the guy backed out. I heard somebody just go, oh. My wife did the same thing. Actually, it's more of like a, ah! So, anytime you have some static, there's always some opportunity, right? So we looked at this and say, okay, what are we going to do? Well, this is an example of a real deal on how to structure a deal. I said, what if I just scraped up the 25 grand, borrowed from family, cash advance on credit cards. I mean, there's ways to get some money if you need it in a hurry, right? Cash advance, it costs you 3%, right? To rate that day, just to pull it, or family, I don't know what it costs you, and then hang it over your head later, I don't know. But we ended up, I said to this, what if we buy the house, and then we get a line of credit on the house? And then at the time, money was all loosey-goosey. Now, I already bought the house with 25 grand that I borrowed from a person, and then we went out to Wachovia and got the Wachovia money, right, at 0.1%. We went out and we got a line of credit right after we bought the house the same week. And the interesting thing was I was taught by a guy that he said, when you're buying a deal, especially a real deal, when you're buying a real deal, see at the bottom there? I record $10 on the deed. $10 in other valuable consideration. It doesn't matter that the other valuable consideration was $24,990. It was $10 in other valuable consideration. Now, there's nothing, all I'm doing there in order to do that is it just has to do with privacy. I'm paying the full-blown taxes, whatever the taxes are, I pay them. But it's for privacy. Is it anybody's business what you bought a house for? It's nobody's business, unless you want it to be. And there's cases where you do, and I'll tell you that later. But in this particular case, I had a $10 deed, nominal deed, paid the full-blown transfer tax. Had the sell. You see where it says $25,000 plus closing costs? You see how closing costs is small. Well, I had all I had all these check boxes like notary, document preparation. I probably had 10 check boxes. The only check box we put on the seller's side was transfer tax. That's just that one check box. That's the most expensive one. That's never mind. So we went out and got this place appraised. I was approved. They said, we'll only lend you 80% of the as-is appraised value, or 80% of the as-is appraised value, or 80% of the purchase price. Well, what was the purchase price? $10. I said, does that mean you're going to lend me 8? And he says, no. We'll have to get it appraised. Wow. That was by mistake. Absolutely no idea what I was doing, but now, for financing, that's a good strategy. Buy it for $10. What are they going to do? Give you 8? It worked. They gave me a line of credit for $80,000. So what's the first thing you do when you get a line of credit for $80,000? Spend it. No, don't spend. You invest. We don't spend. We invest. We don't consume. So I paid back the 25 plus whatever interest to it, right? Then I wrote myself a check for $40,000. My wife was happy that day. Or $40,000. My wife was very happy that day. So I wrote myself a check for the $40,000. That was the same money that I was going to get on the wholesale, right? The same money. It was borrowed. What does that make it? Not taxable. It wasn't taxable. What happened to the house that I wholesaled? It would be gone. I still have it. We put $8,000 into rehabbing the house. We rented out the house, lease to own. We got an additional $5,000 from the lease to own person as non-refundable option consideration. NROC, N-R-O-C, write that down. Non-refundable option consideration. So that's when we do lease to own. Well, the nice thing about lease to owns is that people don't bang up your house. They're gearing up to buy it. It's their house. If the toilet needs plunging, it's their toilet. It's going to be anyway. And there's a tax reason for doing that as well. So I got the $40,000 in my bank. I have the house now. I have a line of credit payment, and the lease to own payment. It was probably at the time maybe 6-7%, something like that. The tenant was paying me $500 every 2 weeks. So they should get paid every 2 weeks, so pay rent every 2 weeks. You get paid every month, pay rent every month. That's kind of the way I like to structure it, because I pull it the same day they get the checks, and then they pay me first before they pay their other bills. With that strategy, now I also have the depreciation that offsets the income. These are all the tax stuff. These are all the benefits, right? I have the house, I have the depreciation, I have tax-free 40 grand that I pay no taxes on whatsoever. I have that NROC money. I have the appreciation, because houses typically go up. Right now is not the time to talk about appreciation, but it'll happen again. We're there at the bottom, or close anyway. And I have cash flow every month. So, you see how that house almost got away from me? But now that I have it, I still have that house today. And they even upped my line for 100, and they forgot to pay off the 80. They forgot to close out the 80, so I owe 180 on that house today. And what do you think we did with the rest of the money? Bought more real estate, right?